ladies and gentlemen, we have a serious problem. We have a good James Bond film.
I maybe wouldn't go that far. It was enjoyable to watch, certainly. More so than the previous two, but I have a lot to complain about still.
He doesn't do anything. He's hardly in it. He just sort of
Which is why it's good. No, this is the problem, right? It's like, as an anti-James Bond podcast, this is gonna be the best one that we talk about, I think. I have a strongly held belief here that, like, this is the best James Bond movie.
He just plays golf. That's the only thing he does.
Yeah, exactly. And so because it has so little Bond in it.
The alternate title is James Bond's Day Off.
Like, every single thing that Bond actually does, he fucks up completely. So, like, it's just a plot that happens in spite of James Bond rather than due to.
Yeah, and if they had just kept to that, then we would have had some quite enjoyable films, but instead they did not. But we're talking about Goldfinger, the first one where the plots got really sort of out there, a little bit silly, a little bit zany. The first one with the gadgets that we come to know and love. The first one where Bond is a little bit more whimsical. And let me give you the intro because I'm very happy with this.
Man has climbed Mount Everest, gone to the bottom of the ocean. He has fired rockets to the moon, split the atom, achieved miracles in every field of human endeavor, except crime.
We are vitally concerned with unauthorized leakages.
Welcome back.
Fucking hell. Oh, you bastard. You slipped that one in under the radar.
Oh, you got me with that.
Welcome back to Kill James Bond. It's me, Alice, Abi, and Devon.
How you doing?
Hello.
And we're here talking about unauthorized leakages.
So yeah, well, let's just introduce our sponsor right away, Huggies. Adult diapers.
So this is this is the first in a long tradition of pre-credit sequences that have fuck all to do with the movie. But we start the movie with Bond just kind of blowing up an oil refinery.
Yeah, he's just sort of finishing what we take to be a previous adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just what we should take to be Bond's sort of interstitial in between movies stuff is he's just blowing up a single oil tanker with a thing of plastic explosive that looks like fucking like sour cream.
He does wear a duck on his head at one point, which is very funny.
Yeah, he wears a duck on his head. He does he strips off the wetsuit to reveal a perfect white tuxedo with a red carnation.
He is then the most conspicuous person in the bar because he's the only one wearing that.
Yeah,
he also is the only one who doesn't panic when it explodes.
Yeah, because he is smugly looking at his Rolex at the exact moment when it goes off. The least suspicious thing you can do when a bomb goes off. But we find out that this is some like drug lab in somewhere in South America.
They're making heroin and using it to finance revolutions. It doesn't matter. Bond is finishing an adventure. He goes to shag.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
And a goon comes up behind him to try and hit him with like a sap. And
he uses the heavy attack?
He uses the heavy attack, but the reason why he uses the heavy attack is because he sees this goon reflected in the eye of the woman that he's currently fucking. And he just spins her around and like lets her take the blow for him.
What a guy.
what a fucking dude. Chivalric hero this guy is.
And then fights the other guy. He tosses him into like the bathtub and fucking electrocutes him.
He throws an electric lamp in there. And just to sort of set the tone for the rest of the movie, you get the inevitable.
Shocking.
Horrendous.
Fine. Whatever.
Sure.
He indulges in some more of his other favorite hobby, which is towel sniffing.
Why does he do this every
I don't know.
time?
It's one of his most firmly established character traits is that James Bond is A, lucky, and B, enjoys sniffing towels.
Loves to sniff
Do you
a
think
towel.
he's being directed to do that, or if that's just Sean Connery injecting a little bit of personality?
Yeah, I think he ad-libbed the towel thing. Just a lot of towel-focused seduction. And he's just like, I got to do something with this towel. But we get through that, and Bond finds himself on vacation in Miami Beach.
Well, we have a title. We have a title sequence with the
title sequence,
a real song.
That's
for the
true.
first time. We have
They got Shirley
a
Bassey,
really good song as well.
absolutely
fantastic.
belting out. You know what the song is. It's the song from Goldfinger, and she's singing the song from Goldfinger.
And the credits are projected onto a woman's ass, which is what we love to see on James Bond. It's nice and
But
cheap.
a gold woman's ass. Also, when Shirley Bassey was recording that, she had the title sequence like projected in front of her so she could sync it up, and the title sequence was like a few seconds longer than everyone thought it was, and she nearly like knocked herself unconscious holding that last high note. In her memoir, she said she had to take her bra off mid-note to try and like be able to keep breathing, holding the high note on like "He loves only gold."
To be fair, he does love gold. You get everything you need to know about Auric Goldfinger's character just presented right to you. It's very helpful.
I'm looking forward to meeting him because I think he's a really good character.
Auric Goldfinger, he really gets kind of dumped in Bond's lap. Bond is on vacation in Miami, and his friend Felix Leiter, who is now played by a different actor because the old one wanted too much money, it just sort of dumps this job on him. It's like, hey, M phoned me. You got to spy on this dude, Auric Goldfinger. And this is how Goldfinger is introduced.
Auric Goldfinger. Sounds like a French nail varnish.
He's British, but he doesn't sound like it. Big operator, worldwide interests, all apparently quite reputable.
So he's like, he's just like a slightly ridiculously named wealthy man. But the thing is, we see
he's like
him,
somebody that you'd cover on Trash Future, really.
Yeah,
he really
but we
is.
see him straight after this, and I don't know how I can describe the fits.
It's so
that Goldfinger goes through.
We're gonna have to just describe them every time because he's wearing nothing but class, like top to bottom.
The closest thing I can say is that this is the most podcaster-looking man in the James Bond canon. He arrives in a gold lame dressing gown, looking extrendly ruddy.
And this might because
we are by the pool. Which is and Goldfinger, he's not dressed in a chairman mouse. So he's dressed to go to the pool, which he is. I really appreciate that Goldfinger, like, he's a very hands-on villain. And we established that he is cheating at cards. He's playing against somebody and cheating at cards. And I appreciate a villain who is dedicated to that kind of casual, petty villainy.
Yeah, just like petty shit. Like everything he does is a little bit villainous. He's a lovely character, and I'm going to spend a lot of this talking about how much I enjoyed him and
he's really affable is the thing. And he like the thing that we first know about Goldfinger is that he's a cheat. Right, he's playing gin rummy, which fuck off. Is that a real game? I don't think it is.
More real than Chemin de Fer, which is what Bond's game of choice is.
He has the sense enough to cheat rather than just like throwing his money away. But the way in which he's cheating is he has a fake hearing aid, and he has a girl in a bikini in one of the balconies of the hotel with a pair of binoculars reading his opponent's cards to him, and Bond just deduces this immediately.
Yeah, he just walks right to the door. Like he finds a woman that he can grab, which this will be a running theme for this.
Oh boy.
I want to just set out, but just right now, like at the top of the gates, can either of you think of a single woman that Bond shares screen time with that he does not in some way manhandle? Because there's only one.
Is Moneypenny in this one?
Money is, yep.
She is. They have a little bit of the usual banter. I don't think he manhandles her.
I will draw the correct one up when we get to it because it plays into something else about the character of Bond. But he passes a woman and he just
it's the old woman with the machine gun.
He doesn't share a screen with her actually at any point. It's always cut back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
But that's only a technicality. You got one.
Okay, so Bond manhandles a maid. He just finds a maid, grabs the key off of her belt, and like lets himself into Goldfinger's room, and then just sort of manhandles her back into place. And then upon doing this this breaking and entering, he finds this girl in the bikini, reading out the cards. So what he does then is he just kind of like switches off the transmitter and then like pins her down in a really uncomfortable sort of way.
Yeah, he is a stranger standing between her and the only means of exit off this balcony.
Yeah, but she's into it because it's Bond, right? Every woman is insanely horny for him all the time, with one notable exception, which we'll get to. Yeah, Jill Masterson is what she tells him her name is. And they kind of like, Bond sabotages Goldfinger's cheating, and she quite enjoys this. But there's also a fucking gross, weird moment where Bond basically asks her, "Hey, are you like fucking this sort of grotesque podcaster-looking dude? Because if you are, it would seriously lower my opinion of you as a guy who's just broken into your room.
As someone who you have just met who is currently pinning you down.
As someone pinning you to a recliner.
Like, spoiled goods.
Yeah, here's the dialogue.
He pays me.
Is that all he pays you for?
And for being seen with him.
Just seen?
Just seen.
I'm so glad.
Virtue intact.
Ooh.
Yeah. Virtue intact, and so he doesn't have to feel bad about having sex with her, which he immediately does.
And I'm guessing we've got a new record on the pussy clock.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, I started a stopwatch as soon as Jill Masterson appears on screen, because this is something that we do here. We measure how long it takes for any woman character who appears on screen to have sex with Bond, because it's a good way of measuring the opinion of women of A, the character, and B, the writers. And Jill Masterson...
The previous time to beat was 5 minutes and 40 seconds.
Oh, like easily halves that. Jill Masterson, 2 minutes and 33 seconds. And then about that again.
2 minutes and 33
murdered.
seconds. I reckon that's going to stand for a while.
We are all collectively the guy from Spectre Island reading Red Grant his time and being like, 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Impressive.
Not bad, Jill.
Pulling a rubber face mask off someone.
Oh, and we talked a little bit about fits earlier, but I can't let this go without mentioning that Bond's fit in this is legitimately very good. It's like a towel material romper in like sky blue, and I think it does kind of go.
A baby blue sort of shortcut dressing gown with a belt. It's very...
James Bond is dressed as my dad.
Looking good.
He is dressed as my actual father, just chilling.
Yeah. So he and Jill fuck. And then while he's being a cunt, once again, like the champagne gets warm, and while he burbles into the other room, being like, Dom Perignon, the temperature is 38 degrees. He fucking gets clocked over the back of the head.
He is murked by the fat controller from Thomas the Tank Engine. The shadow is there, and it's perfectly...
A large, wide man in a hat perfectly judo chops him in the back of the neck, because knocking him unconscious.
He's in Goldfinger's room. Like, he's spending the night in a guy who he's just seriously pissed off's room, and is like, this won't ever come back on me.
I don't know why Goldfinger isn't straight up to the room to yell at him.
Yeah.
But the shadow belongs to Oddjob, who is played by a very lovely man named Harold Sakata. This was his first acting job. He's a American Hawaiian of Japanese descent. Originally a silver medal winning Olympic weightlifter, then pro wrestler. And in this scene, he really did just hit Sean Connery that hard. Like he didn't pull the punch. He just fucking smacked him. Connery said for decades afterwards, he was like, I'm still injured from that. He literally just fucking smacked him.
love
single time
Harold
Odd
Takata
Job's on
so much.
I have more
We're
stories
gonna
about
be
Harold Takata that we'll
gushing.
get to because he is, every time he's on screen, like he's just so cool. Pretty
so
much
he's
everything he
fun.
does in this film, he just really did it.
We'd like to sort of award, and I don't want to spoil this too early, but I think we can say that we're going to award Harold Sakata this movie's fucking Kronstein Rosette or whatever
Correct.
for
Yeah, friend of the show, Harold Sakata, yeah.
Harold Sakata, you're welcome
for
on
being
anytime.
the best character and actor in this movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so Bond wakes up from having been fully like chopped in the back of the neck by a professional wrestler to find Jill Masterson on the bed and fully covered in gold paint.
This is
Dead.
check one for women that have died as a direct result of Bond's actions.
Yeah, because he
There will
tries
be
to
more.
cuck an extremely angry and powerful man for no real reason other than that, like, there was a woman there when he decided to break in.
Yep.
And Sean Connery's reaction to this is I think it's genuinely quite well acted. Like, Bond is disturbed by this, and he is angry at Goldfinger because he has failed. Bond has failed for the first time, and a woman is dead.
Yeah. Goldfinger is, therefore very ruthless, very cruel. It's also quite frightening. The way in which she's died, by the way, is skin suffocation, supposedly. Yeah.
I was interested in this, but because as a science teacher, I've taught kids about skin before, and the top 4 millimeters of skin gets its oxygen from the air, not from inhalation. So I thought that there might be a grain of truth to that. So I looked it up. I found a publication in a dermatology journal by a Miss Helena Jenkinson that confirms this is not real. Sorry. I thought there might be something to it, but it's not quite.
Do you want to know something? As much as like it's become received wisdom that like you can kill someone by painting all of their skin and they can't breathe through their skin, they believed this when they were filming this. They had a doctor on set. Shirley Eason had like 5 minutes to do this in. And then immediately afterwards was, and I'm reading here, scrubbed down by the wardrobe mistress and the makeup girl, which sounds quite fun, and then thrown into a Turkish bath.
Need me some of that.
Steam all of this gold off. So they were seriously concerned that this thing that they made up was gonna actually kill the actress in this fictional property that they were making.
And that's just a testament to how scientific knowledge evolves over time. And now we know that is fully bunk and it's funny to look at, but I guess then they were genuinely very, very concerned and scared about it. So
yeah,
it does look very cool though.
It does look good.
It does. She's just like draped over the bed, fully like gold plated. Which is very funny because are we meant to imagine that Oddjob has done this? Like, who has actually
none
gone
on the
down
sheets.
and
He's
like,
very careful, whoever did it.
Yeah, if you've ever done eye makeup in your life, you'll know how difficult it is to get like into the waterline and stuff. He's done that with like gold. It's very impressive.
Yeah. I want to see an Oddjob makeup tutorial.
Yeah, conjures a lovely mental image of Oddjob just with a big paintbrush, sort of having a good time of it. Right.
It's just Oddjob just airbrushing this woman.
Doing fucking Bob Ross shit.
You're doing a wet on wet.
For him. Having a great time.
If you are currently painting a woman while you're listening to this, do please remember to leave a patch of bare skin at the base of the spine for like allegedly to let the skin breathe.
Yeah, which is we bring us now to the scene where Bond gets completely chewed out by M for fucking up.
For fucking up and for getting emotional about it, for getting sentimental.
This isn't a personal vendetta, 007. It's an assignment like any other. And if you can't treat it as such coldly and objectively, 008 can replace him.
And I mean, this is interesting to me, right? Because we're 3 movies in? And we've already set up the one big plot line that they're going to keep coming back to for the other 21 of these, which is like one of the levers you can pull with Bond as a character is, oh, he gets too personally invested, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you'd think, oh, this is going to be interesting, right? He has some personal stakes. He has some sort of emotional attachment here. But he's told not to do that, so he just doesn't. Just
yeah,
nothing,
and
just
even if he does,
if
he had, it would have no impact on the plot because Bond has no impact on the plot at all for this entire
Bond
film.
is very much just like there.
Yeah, this film happens around Bond.
Yeah, he is decanted out of M's office, past Moneypenny, to whom he is like, yeah, no, gold, like a wedding ring, because I should marry you, but not really though, because you're attractive, but not.
You don't want venereal
attractive.
diseases.
Yeah, and is then decanted into a briefing by an extremely plummy man from the Bank of England who explains the concept of arbitrage to him like it's a Trash Future segment. It's just like, Bond, have you heard of gold bullion? Did you know that you can transport it and then you can buy and sell it for different values at different places?
Yeah, there was Milo in this scene doing the Jerk Vanderklerk impression. It was a very... just a perfectly TF scene. The guy's like, now if we could get back on track, I'm talking about the gold here.
Yeah, and it's very funny, right? Because we're still in the world of the gold standard, right? Mm-hmm. The Bank of England man says quite flatly, yes, this is what gives the dollar and the pound their value. It actually isn't. The pound was silver, but whatever. And yeah, so instead of this being something that, like, if you manipulate, you're a successful currency trader and like the British government will bend over backwards for you. This is a like threat to the state. And so Bond is sent after Goldfinger to find out how he is smuggling gold in order to sell it profitably. And once again, big government overreach is stifling entrepreneurship. Bond is violating the non-aggression principle.
Yeah, I mean, the Bank of England guy openly says, like, we would love to seize Goldfinger's gold, but you need to prove that he's doing criminal stuff first. Yeah, so it's basically just like rich guys getting... The stakes for this are very low, really. Well, and until later.
He also says this.
Consequently, we are vitally concerned with unauthorized leakages.
Now, he's talking about gold, but I am going to keep using that drop for the rest of the podcast in whatever movie
There's even a point to illustrate that a little bit further, Abby. There's even a point where the Bank of England guy, goes to say that Goldfinger is doing this stuff illegally and then catches himself because Bond's like, well, how's he melting down this gold? And the Bank of England guy goes, well, he's posing as, and he stops himself and goes, well, that's not fair. He is above board. He does have the licenses to operate like a jewelry thing, so I guess he's using that. But I would like you to find out that he's doing crime. I guess
he's actually doing some legitimate business.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, he's doing this above board, and we're mad as hell. You need to go and find out some crimes.
Yeah, I mean, they're basically just trying to rob Goldfinger.
Something else I want to bring, completely unbidden, while I was watching this film with my girlfriend Eliane, she said, unbidden, halfway through the scene, all British people look like birds, just under her breath. And I don't disagree. If you look at this scene, like everyone involved in it sort of has that kind of hawkish, almost vulture-like quality to them.
It's Bernard Lee, Sean Connery, and like one extremely posh man. They're all crammed into tuxedos. You could see that. Also, in a classic Bank of England move, the Bank of England guy just fucking dumps an ingot of Nazi gold onto the table.
It's like,
and it's just like, I had this lying around.
You'd like this
don't
back
don't ask why we have an
we're the good guys, by the way,
of Nazi gold, complete with the fucking Reichsadler like stamped into it.
He's like, you can have this. We would like it back, though.
Use this to bait Goldfinger. It's worth £5,000, which is millions now, I think. And the way in which Bond like sets up this trap with this Nazi gold is to go golfing with Goldfinger.
But first he goes to Q Branch and gets the Aston Martin DB5 with all the
That's right.
guns
We
in
need
it.
to discuss Q Branch.
Because that comes back.
We set up like this says a lot about the lighter tone of this movie, is that we have the Q Branch visual gags. And these were always my favorite part of a Bond movie when I was a kid. Of Bond goes into Q Branch to get his shit, and on the way there, he will walk past some zany antics. In this case, it's like a guy puts a coin into a parking meter and it sets off a smoke bomb. There's a guy wearing also the fact that they're all wearing the sort of 70s shop coats to do this is very funny.
It's good. It's funny.
Yeah, there's a guy like shrugging off like submachine gun fire because he's wearing armor underneath his shop coat. And we meet Q again, and this time Q's a bit more developed than just like here is your case to murder Red Grant with.
Yeah, Desmond Llewellyn, the actor, had been instructed to try to inject a little bit of humor into the character now. So we've
fantastic.
Yeah, he's actually making jokes. He's like ripping on Bond. It's really good.
Yeah,
it's a good movie. Damn it.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I
hate
that it's a good movie. we gotta fucking So he introduces Bond to his Aston Martin, which has tricks, it has toys, it has wing-mounted machine guns. You can press a button and it can do an oil slick. It can do smoke screens.
Some
it can
wacky races shit.
Yeah, tear the tires out of a car next to it.
All the while, Bond is acting insanely bored while he's being shown this.
He's so fucking bored. He's so done with
this.
It's
like, you're going to give me an Aston Martin DB5 with an oil slick in it? It's boring.
Whatever.
I hate having a sexy gadget car. I'm James Bond.
Also, once again, the Bond franchise deploys foreshadowing in the form of, hey, this car's got an ejector seat in it.
Pay attention, 007. If you press this button, you will advance the plot later on.
It's the classic sentence. He's like, here is the red button. Do not press the red button. And it's...
Ejector seat? You're joking.
I never joke about my work, 007.
And yeah, no, that's exactly it. You flip the top off of the gear shift and you press the thing and it ejects the passenger. Just the passenger.
Just the passenger.
Just the passenger.
Write this
not
down.
The driver. We envision you getting into a highly scripted situation later.
We should have just like a large gong that we play when the foreshadowing plays off or something.
My brother had a little model of the DB5 from Goldfinger when we were kids, and you could press a little button on the side, and the little man inside, he would be ejected out the top. It was very cute.
Rocks. That's cool as hell.
This was actually the first Bond movie that had like the toy licensing for it. Like Corgi made the DB5 model for it at the time.
Well, it is kind of more it's supposed to be child friendly, but we'll get to that.
By their standards, I suppose.
I guess let's say it's more whimsical.
It's a lot more fun.
We have to get back to interminable golfing scene.
Yes, no one will be seated during the exciting James Bond plays golf sequence.
We aren't going to skip through this either. Let's take some fucking time, really discuss this.
Yeah, let's really get into...
He's fitted as hell yet again.
Yeah, he's wearing like a sort of gold tweed ensemble with a gold Tyrolean hat and a gold waistcoat.
He's literally wearing gold in every single scene that he's in. Just get that out of the way to start. Except for exactly what his one time. Is. But in that scene, he has a golden gun, so it all counts. It all.
Yeah, in case you forget what Goldfinger's deal is, everything around him is gold.
Shirley Bassey would say he loves gold.
He loves gold, as the lady said as she took her bra off.
Mm-hmm. His car is gold. He has this beautiful gold Rolls Royce. Odd Job is not gold, but Odd Job is there too. And Odd Job is caddying for him.
Odd Job.
Odd Job's great, man. So Goldfinger fucking cheats at golf because that's the other thing. There are two things about Goldfinger. Thing one, he cheats at everything. Thing two, gold. And he has to do both at the same time here. He lies about where his golf ball is, and then Bond tricks him. I already lost interest.
Bond also cheats at golf to make...
Yeah, Bond out-cheats him.
They make a wager with this Nazi gold bullion. because Bond says, "Hey, like I've got a whole bunch of gold. Isn't that your thing?"
Don't ask from why or from where.
But hey, like let's play golf for this bar of gold. And Goldfinger cheats, and Bond cheats, and Bond wins.
And caddying for Bond this whole time is charming Welsh working class man who is there to go, you got him, boss. Great stuff. Like 4 or 5 times during the scene. It's great. It's fun. But it is also...
and at the end of this, like Goldfinger, he could have just taken the L and gone, oh, well, whatever, I lost. But instead, he basically just like admits to being a criminal. He's just like, look, I know exactly who you are. You've tried to involve yourself in my affairs twice now, unsuccessfully. And he's like, look, just fuck off. Fuck off.
Once again,
I'm doing crimes. Fuck off.
Bond gets made instantly. As we found out in From Russia with Love, everybody knows who James Bond is. Everybody knows what he looks like. And despite the fact that
Oddjob has knocked out Bond previously in this movie, so the second he comes out of a door,
and despite the fact that M has said to his face, not even half an hour before, hey, I can just get 008 to do this. You're not my only guy who does this shit,
Mm-hmm.
It seems
just
like
imagining 008 always being like, why have you sent him out again? Why have you sent him out again? He's shit.
Yeah, and so he is immediately identified for who and what he is by Goldfinger and Oddjob. And Goldfinger demonstrates as a feat of strength. He has Oddjob throw his hat at one of the statues, and the hat being steel-rimmed, this bowler hat just fully decapitates a statue.
This was real. Harold Sakata,
really?
he really had a steel-brimmed hat, and he practiced for 5 months. The statue isn't made of stone, it's made of plaster, but he really did just practice until he could knock the head off the statue with a steel-brimmed hat.
Harold Sakata doesn't understand what acting is, but also that just makes him so much better as a character.
It makes him so much more powerful.
Legitimate.
Absolute, 100% method commitment.
And this is like Oddjob. Every time Oddjob's on screen, we're all going to go, fucking Oddjob was great, wasn't he? And he's a classic villain for a reason, is because he's compelling, he's fun. He doesn't say a word ever. He's Korean,
he's mute.
He crushes the golf ball in his hand. Bond tries to be suave and give him the golf ball back. And it's like, oh, you dropped this. And he just destroys it.
Mm-hmm. And Bond follows them in this Rolls Royce to Switzerland, where we get sort of a chase scene, almost, because
Bond legitimately shows restraint in this scene, which is something we should maybe put a flag in, because that's phenomenal for the character of Bond.
Unbelievable.
First and only time.
We will never see this again.
Mm-hmm.
Bond is trying to trail them unobtrusively at a distance in his one-of-a-kind bright silver sports car when a convertible Mustang driven by a sexy lady overtakes him and hooting and hollering the whole way, and tries to chase down and murder Goldfinger. She takes a shot at him with a sniper rifle, which in fact is Bond's sniper rifle from Russia with Love. Trivia fans.
And it hits near Bond, so Bond assumes that she's trying to kill him and in the employ of Goldfinger, but it's later revealed that no, she's just a bad shot, was trying to kill Goldfinger.
It would have been very funny if she'd hit Bond by accident and just ended the film. No, but
nothing else would have been different.
It's just
Bond
is along for the ride for all of this.
Actually, no, she may have later succeeded in killing him. No, the reason Bond shows restraint is because he senses pussy, which is the other thing he is drawn to. So he chases her instead and sabotages her car for no reason.
Yeah,
he just destroys both of the wheels on one side of her car and then acts like, what a weird, rare tire defect. Do you want to get into my car? A thing that was last practiced by Ted Bundy.
Oh God, you're right.
and Tilly is not having fucking any of it. Tilly.
No, he tries to turn on the charm and he's like, well, I say, and she's just like, no, fuck off. I have.
He's like, I've seen the other 2 movies. Fuck you.
She's like, can you take me to a garage now? And he's like, my name's Bond. And she's like, yeah. And now, if you would like to.
Slams door. Yeah, fuck off.
Oh, so good.
She leans out of the screen and is like, Dev, you're not going to need that watch, mate.
It's like, fucking stop that stopwatch right now, pal. It's not happening. Like, all right.
Which is cool. I respect the hell out of it.
Yeah. Great.
So Bond follows the golden Rolls Royce after this little interlude to Auric Enterprises AC, which is a factory, a very nice sort of brutalist factory set into like Swiss meadows. And he's like, yeah, this is gonna be some evil, some mastermind shit. Exactly. So I'm gonna get into my sneaking clothes.
He's tipped off by the fact that everyone working there is Chinese. So he's like, so there must be a villain.
Something the fuck else.
I'm gonna talk about this, right?
Go
like
off,
if we're talking about this now, the only real like power that Goldfinger has is like employs Asian people, something which only he can do.
I was just like, this is just another instance, just like Dr. No, of a bad guy who is not nominally connected to the East. Well, he is a little. We'll get into that later.
But later on, he is revealed to be working for them.
His entire array of henchmen are just Asian for some fucking reason.
Yeah,
like, Goldfinger is Dutch. How did they fucking manage to be a racist villain?
I just staffed my factory in the Swiss Alps entirely with, I think, Korean guys.
No, they're all Cantonese.
Wearing like... okay. And they're all wearing like Cheongsam too, which is not
they're
ideal.
All dressed up Asian as well, like in the massivest inverted
they're dressed
commas.
Asian.
He's like, we only employ Asian guys.
When they evacuated Dr. No's irradiated room, they needed somewhere to go.
Goldfinger's operating like a fucking
that it's the same henchman every time.
I am.
Just squeezed into a slightly different, preposterous henchman uniform.
Just the
every
same
movie.
guys being like, fuck, how does this keep happening?
Fuck, is that James Bond again? Is that him again? Fucking hell.
Why don't we ever get fucking 008?
And then there's the new guy who's like, this is really bad. And they're like, you should have seen the last one. We had to work in that room with the radiation. Fucking hell. You think a smelting factory's bad?
Yeah, it's just gold in here. We're fine. Gold isn't fucking radioactive. We're all good.
To be honest, I'm glad nobody's firing live rounds at us on Spectre Island anymore. That was a real bad shit, you know? I love the idea that it's the same henchman every time. Like, this time we'll get him, boys.
They're all fucking like quitting at the end of this movie, and they're like, well, I've heard of this business opportunity from a guy called Emilio Largo. I think he could be cool. Let's try that out.
Yeah, I always wanted to work on a yacht. I mean...
They actually get their job from an app. they get their jobs from an app. It's called like Hench, and you're an independent contractor.
Hench, but with no E. It's just HMCH.
Yeah,
HNCHMN, and it's just like, yeah, fuck. I replaced my entire unionized Asian workforce with just guys. With
guys from Hench.
Oh, and the thing is, they don't count as employees either, so it's like, it's great for the bottom line.
Yeah, they're private contractors. Yeah. Oh my god! So Bond changes into his sneaking outfit, which is just like a black turtleneck.
Absolutely.
And he pokes around, right? And what he discovers is that these hench guys are operating a gold smelter. And what they're doing is, Goldfinger has quite an ingenious plan if you don't think about it for too long, where the gold panels of his Rolls Royce are like actual gold. And every time he drives it from one place to another, they just melt it down and they recast it. And that way he can like arbitrate this gold, a thing you can now do from a Bloomberg terminal, without like the government stopping you, even though he's doing this more or less legally.
And the best that he even like says outright that that's like about 2 tons of gold. I think he says like 2,000 pounds, and he specifically is using like the weight pounds. And it's like, do you not think people might notice when your car weighs 2 fucking tons of additional weight that they might be like, hang on, I don't think this is a regulation Rolls Royce.
Oh, there's also a separate kind of Asian stereotype here, because there's a guy called Dr. Ling wearing a Mao suit.
That's right.
And he's here from the People's Republic of China to talk to Goldfinger about something called Operation Grand Slam. And this is
Let's
the last
go.
and only time Bond will ever do some espionage in this movie, is he just overhears the words
By luck.
Operation Grand Slam.
Yeah, Goldfinger's
And is
planning on
like-
taking his entire base of henchmen out to Denny's for lunch.
She's like, better remember the words Operation Grand Slam. But then Tilly Masterson, who turns out to be the sister of Skin Suffocated Woman, tries to take a shot at Goldfinger with a sniper rifle. Bond stops her. This sets off the alarm.
The alarm is set off because of Bond.
Yeah,
Because
he
Bond
knocks
tries to stop her.
He knocks
Stress
her rifle barrel into a tripwire, which instantly sets off a like directional alarm, which rules.
Yeah.
All the hench guys are like, oh shit, here we go
We
again.
have to do something.
It's fucking James Bond again, lads.
This is a part of the movie I liked, right? If From Russia with Love invented the fight scene, this is where they invent the car chase scene, right?
Absolutely.
Like even down to what I like to think of as the henchman car, right? Which is inevitably a black, usually Mercedes saloon with the like yellow headlights for some reason, and like that will then get piled full of henchmen who will drive after Bond, leaning out of the window shooting at him. It rules. This is the first movie where they do that, and it's shot very well. Like you get a sense of speed and stuff, and Bond gets to use
an additional caveat to the classic henchman car chase is that the car full of henchmen must explode at just the lightest fucking environmental
because
touch.
that's what happens, right? Bond gets to use the gadgets, right? He gets to use the oil slick, he gets to use the smoke screen. When he uses the oil slick, one of these hench cars goes over a cliff that was not there in any establishing shot.
Yeah,
and the second it leaves the road, still upright, fully intact,
not even
and
touching
driving.
the ground. It's just it crests the hill, it enters midair, and then explodes.
Because a guy was just like working on his like tannerite hobby in the back seat or something.
Well, the thing is, when you get your henchman gigs on hench, you're only actually paid and insured during the time that you're chasing James Bond. So the moment they left the road, they lost all their insurance.
Yeah, which is great for Goldfinger because it really cuts out the bottom
100%.
line. Mm-hmm.
So Bond gets captured. In the course of him getting captured, Tilly gets murked. She gets killed with a hat.
Yeah, odd jobs there.
And that's
and Bond is like
that is the second.
He really killed a woman as well. She really died.
Harold Sakata legitimately murdered a woman.
Harold Sakata,
during the running
literal
of this.
murderer. He
Cool
actually
guy,
trained for 5 months
that
to
is
decapitate this woman.
The second tick of a woman that has died in this movie as a direct consequence of Bond's action, and it was the sister
once again,
of the last
feels
woman.
bad.
So he's just wiped out that family
for
line
a minute, and then just does not feel bad anymore. And we get to the classic scene. You know, the scene where Bond wakes up and he's strapped to a table.
That's not quite there yet. Sorry. There's a bit
Is it
more
not?
car because they go
is
to
there?
take him back, but instead of like having
you're
someone
right.
drive
Shit,
Bond
yeah, they
there,
capture him.
a henchman gets into the passenger seat of Bond's car. and they drive back. They go through like a checkpoint manned by an elderly Swiss woman, just a lovely looking lass.
Yep.
They let him through, and then Bond executes like gong here. Here's the foreshadowing. He presses the button. The henchman shoots out of his car, and like the shot is fucking hilarious because
Fully
it's just
3 feet in the air.
It's just a dummy who just goes out of his side.
A dummy being launched 3 feet out of the roof of a car. Yeah.
And Bond.
And then this does not avail him at all.
Yeah, he tries
Makes
to
no
drive
difference to
out.
the
he gets
He
captured
turns
again.
around to attempt to leave via the same way he came in, the old lady at the checkpoint, and she fucking pulls out like a fucking submachine gun and just lays into him. So he turns around again and
once
he drives through,
again,
and then eventually crashes into a wall.
he gets wily coyoted, right? Because he crashes into a wall because of a mirror that I guess it's implied that Oddjob has put up.
It's
that like, so he sees his own headlight in the mirror, swerves to avoid them, and crashes into a wall, knocking himself
I
unconscious.
prefer the idea that James Bond is just like a dog with paint on its forehead and doesn't understand that he's looking at his own reflection.
Yeah,
he's so unused to
perception.
reflecting on his own actions that he literally can't tell his own reflection. He thinks that's someone else.
And what's lovely is he's in the rubble now. Oddjob pulls up, gets out of a car, walks up, looks directly at himself in the mirror, just smiles for a little bit, and then cracks on with what he was doing.
Nobody does the smile like Oddjob.
Oddjob looks so
Hans Carter really
chuffed.
smiled. He practiced for 5 months to smile.
Just about figured it out. Oddjob just looks so chuffed every time he's on screen, and there's no other word you can use to describe it.
He loves his job. He loves
he's not
doing it.
Pleased. He's not like, he's just chuffed. He's just having a great time of it.
He's having a nice time.
He's enjoying himself.
Yeah.
He enjoys fucking
now
with
we
Bond.
get to the scene.
Now,
we get
go
to the
off, Queen.
fucking scene.
Mm-hmm.
The fucking, you know what it is.
Do you expect me to talk?
No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Fucking get his ass Oryx.
It rules.
He's wearing a gold tuxedo at this point. He has Bond tied to like a sheet of metal, and he tries to like use a laser to zoop up and bisect Bond via the dick first.
Absolutely.
He's going to give Bond free laser hair removal, which is generous because it's very expensive, but it's also very painful.
Yeah, but he doesn't give him the goggles though, so it's negligent. But Bond pulls his only card in this situation, which is, I have heard 3 words earlier by accident. Operation Grand Slam.
And
I know you've just said that you want to murder me, and you're like, the point of this exercise is that you murder me and I'm not alive anymore. But have you considered Operation Grand Slam? It's like he uses it like a safe word, right? Because the second he says it, Goldfinger's like, well, hold on here. Okay.
He's like, wait, you know that we're going to Denny's later? What?
Goldfinger's like, he takes his time, he chats to a scientist for a second, then he turns around, he's like, look, those are just 3 words. You could have overheard those. They can't possibly mean anything to you or anyone from your organization. And Bond goes, well, can you take that chance? Being like, please do not take that chance. And Goldfinger again thinks for a bit and goes, yeah, all right. Maybe
Why
you
don't
are
you
worth
just
more to me alive.
ask him to explain what Operation Grand Slam is?
Oh my god, you're so right.
He just needs to be like, yeah,
if you
what is
want
that?
to check whether he knows what it is, why don't you just ask him?
What is Operation Grand Slam,
explain Operation Grand Slam to me,
on,
motherfucker.
Speak on it, motherfucker. See what you got.
You're going to go to Denny's? And he's like, wrong.
Yeah, no. So he's like, all right, fine, you can live. And then
Shit, Alice, you're so right. You've ruined that scene for me.
A guy walks up to Bond.
He's
Bond's
already committed to murdering him, right? Like, that's what the point of that I expect you to die thing delivered with this amazing sort of affable nature is.
Yeah.
And he just fucking forgets it.
He literally, on his way out, he's just like, look, the nature of our last 2 meetings is now clear to me. I do not expect to be troubled by a third. Good day, Mr. Bond. And he leaves and like, Bond's like, do you want me to talk? He's like, no, bud. There's nothing you could fucking say that I don't know.
No, this is a murder. I'm sorry. Did you mistake the nature of this interaction that we're having?
Not an
because it's me murdering you.
You're dying today. But he doesn't. He gets knocked out.
And if he had just followed through with that, then he would have, like, I guess actually all the same stuff would have happened.
Yeah,
all the same shit. Because again, Bond is just not.
It would have been the end of the
negligible
podcast.
Impact on this movie. He's just watching other people do the plot.
Yeah, he does roofie Bond though. A guy just shoots him with a tranquilizer pistol, which is very funny. And Bond wakes up on a plane to meet on a Blackman. And I mean,
my name is Pussy Galore.
I must be dreaming.
And I'll point out the original shooting script of that line was, she says, I'm Pussy Galore, and he says, I know you are, but what's your name? And that was too suggestive, so they cut that and replaced it with this.
So good. Honor Blackman fucking loved saying her character's name, like in all of the
Pussy Galore.
All of the interviews she did to drum up like hype for the movie. There's definitely a name for those. She's just like, yeah, my character Pussy Galore, and the interviewers are like, yeah, yep, I know.
There's a press photo of her on one of these like pre-release tours in Malta where she's just on the beach in a bikini and she has written pussy in the sand.
She fucking
no one has had as much fun with the name Pussy Galore as Honor Blackman.
Oh, but when I dress up in a bikini and go to the beach and do that, suddenly it's a headline in the Times.
It's pussy with like a question mark, just like anyone?
Yeah, just like this says a lot about our society. And she introduces herself as, well, again, like this is the thing, right? Everybody in this movie gets 2 character traits only, if they're lucky. So Goldfinger he likes gold and he likes cheating.
Correct.
Pussy Galore gets, I'm a pilot and I'm a lesbian. And she just fully launches into both of those. Like, Bond tries to fuck her, and her exact words are, you can turn off the charm, I'm immune.
I think in the books it's actually more explicit that she's a lesbian, but it's certainly very heavily implied. So it's interesting that in the time we've gone from Russia with Love to this, we've changed our attitudes about lesbianism quite quickly.
Yeah.
Because
strange new phenomenon, Bond. There's women having sex with other women, and it's not gross.
Hang on, fuck, I got something.
Pay attention, 007. Now, this is a lesbian.
Coming out of Europe, 007. Women who want to fuck other women. You heard about this?
I'm gonna.
Q is like Bond. This is a standard field issue lesbian. It's like Q. I'm familiar with this device. It's a lesbian. It's sinister. No, Bond. Concealed within this lesbian is actually something that turns men on.
There's actually a smoke canister inside of his lesbian.
Because unlike Rosa Klebb, she's attractive, she's young, she's blonde, she's got like tits contained in a bullet bra instead of a KGB uniform, and so therefore she's an object of male attraction.
And once again,
this is now what, like, in the book Goldfinger, Bond describes this as the lesbian's challenge to men. Right?
That's horrendous.
It's an extra difficulty level to your seduction if a woman is a lesbian.
No, it's a very tough check to pull off, absolutely. I would say impossible, personally. I don't know. Also, again, Bond meets a woman. Bond meets a woman in Goldfinger's employ and immediately sets about double checking to make sure she hasn't had sex with him. He also pulls a similar line on her, and she's like, no, I'm his pilot. And he's like, good.
Sexy pilot. And she's like, no, I just fly him because I'm a lesbian.
No, I'm just good at flying planes. And he's like, sexily? And she's like, no, you're not getting this. You're not understanding.
Just normal planes. Just normal planes.
And here is where we also meet the only female character that Bond shares a screen with and doesn't sexually assault or grab or touch or even come onto in any way. It's Mei Lee. It's the one woman of color that Bond is on screen with.
Not a white woman in yellow face.
She is in fact an Asian woman this time.
An Asian woman is played by an Asian woman, and as such, Bond will not try and have sex with her.
Bond is not fucking
She is
interested.
also dressed in a cheongsam.
Yeah, because his henchmen are Asian, and they have to be Asian in full caps. Because this was produced in the 60s.
Every time we get into the sort of regressive mores of this movie, I will just read a bit from the novel Goldfinger, which is it's real racist, man. Bond,
Go on.
Bond describes Koreans as lower than apes.
Oh no! Come on, man,
dude.
Ian Fleming, rest in piss. Also, Ian Fleming died just before this movie came out, and I'm gonna libel his corpse multiple times during this. Piece of shit,
100%.
racist. It's good he's dead. Anyway,
Any like
We can
look,
cut that if
the
you think that's gonna be a
whole
problem.
the whole thing of the novel Goldfinger, which is not worth your time, is this kind of like Bond idly does race science in his own head. Like, so for instance, Goldfinger, there's an extended bit where he speculates as to Goldfinger's ethnicity and eventually decides that he's like Baltic.
What does
And
that mean?
there's this
Go ahead.
I
Sorry.
don't know, man. There's this passage, right?
Go on, yeah.
Everything was out of proportion. Goldfinger was short, not more than 5 feet tall, and on top of the thick body and blunt peasant legs was set almost directly into the shoulders a huge and it seemed almost exactly round head. It was as if Goldfinger had been put together with bits of other people's bodies. Nothing
How are you
seemed
being racist
to belong.
to a Dutch man? How are you managing that? This
They
shouldn't
practically
be
invented
possible.
racism.
Well, he also named the character
On.
after the architect Erno Goldfinger. I think the architect pronounced his name Goldfinger, but either
I
way,
believe it was
too modernist,
Hemingway's
too
neighbor.
Hungarian, and possibly also too Jewish for Ian Fleming. So he just named the character after him. And the architect Erno Goldfinger sued, and
That's right.
yeah, and so Fleming ended up settling, or his publishers did, but not before he had threatened to rename the character to Gold Prick.
Just a piece of shit.
What a
Just
lovely
nice
man.
man. What a nice man.
Just a horrid fella. Anyway, the plot. So Bond at this point, we didn't mention, but he has a tracking beacon that he can put in the base of his shoe, and he goes to do this in the bathroom of the plane. But there are 2 peepholes, not one. He covers up the first with his coat, and then he's like, and Melee just immediately moves across to the second peephole that she has. And at that point, I was like, one more, let's go. Rule of 3, comedy. But there is unfortunately not a third peephole.
Yeah, they don't give it to you, but I do appreciate that they took a lot of the sort of race science from the novel and replaced that with whimsy.
Yeah,
there's this kind of like
fun.
whimsical soundtrack as she's like peeping through on him.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, points for that, I guess.
No.
Yeah, no.
And then they pull
Anyway,
up.
at this point, we arrive in
yeah.
Kentucky.
Yeah, because you thought
and 5
the fucking-
American blondes in jumpsuits appear, and then I realized
What is
I was
their
watching
name?
the wrong film, and I tabbed back into Goldfinger.
What is the name of those 5 American blondes? Can someone?
Yeah, okay. So
Lesbians.
It's Pussy Galore's Flying
Lesbians.
Circus, baby.
Pussy Galore's
Pussy-
Flying Circus.
There's a
Now,
fucking banner.
once again, I will refer you to the book. Do you want to know what they're called in the book?
How
They're
many
called the cement
times will we
mixers.
have to beep this? Oh fuck! Oh my god! Oh, you've got to be joking.
The reason
I don't even get that.
the reason it's like fucking calling them the bricks. Like and the
Oh.
reason why
Oh.
Pussy Galore explains to Bond that the reason why she is a lesbian is that she was sexually assaulted as a child by her uncle, and this had put her off men. I'm pretty certain that that's
Oh.
not how that works.
Oh no!
But it's what Ian Fleming wrote.
That just makes that what happens later all the more
Oh, yeah.
mystifying.
It only
Yep,
gets
yep.
worse. I thought it was bad just watching this movie, but with this additional context, oh no, oh dear.
I'm so glad I'm the only one here who's read the book because it will it'll ruin a lot of things.
Huh. Well,
Yeah.
you thought that fucking laser room was his secret base? His secret base is a stud farm in Kentucky. And,
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Cool place. He's just riding around having fun as well. Like,
and
Yeah,
just to
he-
celebrate being in Kentucky, I'm just going to open this whiskey bottle for a second here.
Hell yeah. Kentucky, which has a lot of palm trees in the shots for some reason.
That's
Mm.
a
Almost as if
remarkable
they
amount.
didn't want to move outside of Miami to film a lot of stuff.
mm.
Anyway, Bond gets thrown in a cell, which he immediately escapes from
Mhm.
with the simple expedient of ducking under the cell window, confusing the guard, which causes him to like enter the cell, and then Bond jumps him.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly as dumb as it sounds.
Oh yeah.
Meanwhile, Goldfinger is giving a briefing about his plan, Operation Grand Slam.
And
this would have been a perfect time to reveal that he was working for Spectre, who we've built up as the bad guys over the last 2 films. But he can't be working for Spectre because his plan is actually good and works. He's an actual competent villain, and as we've seen, that's not how Spectre does things. So instead, it's just like the mob.
Dev, who's he explaining it to?
Here is where we meet my favorite characters in a Bond film that I've ever seen. The stimulus response mafia guys. The fucking NPC Americans. I believe I provided you with a drop for this to explain.
Cover him! Hey, cover those doors! Turn those lights back on!
What are you trying to pull, Goldfinger?
There is no cause for alarm, gentlemen.
Why are you being cooped up like this? What's that map doing there? Hey, what's going on here? What is it? It's on the floor, my feet! What is this? A
So these
Have you heard of the High Elves?
These are just some fucking New York gangsters that Goldfinger has assembled his plan by working with. Each and every one he's promised $1 million in gold bullion to. He's collected them all up. They've all brought one separate bit. One of them's brought like well, we'll get into it, I suppose. But each and every one of these guys is just in a room together.
Like one guy brought the
hey,
trucks,
what are you doing
one guy
here,
brought the
pal?
gas.
I'm here to do business
somebody
with Mr. Goldfinger.
Somebody from the east side did the catering.
And Goldfinger walks in.
And Goldfinger,
Goldfinger walks in. He begins to explain his plan by merit of pressing a button on his pool table that turns it into a little control panel. And the New York guys go, "Hey, Mr. Goldfinger, what's going on with that pool table?" And then he presses a button, the lights turn off, and the guy's like, "Hey, who turned out the lights?" And then a map comes up, and they're like, "What's that map doing over there, Mr. Goldfinger?" It's so fucking good. Like,
every single one of them has the NPC face meme.
They're all just like seeing things happen and being like, "Hey, this is crazy. What's going on over here?" Oh, it's so good. Oh, it's. I love these guys.
Bond explained. Goldfinger explains the plan to them, and the plan is he's going to knock everybody in Fort Knox, the U.S. gold bullion depository, unconscious by spraying gas over them by means of Pussy Galore's flying lesbians.
Right. Delta 9 nerve agent.
And then, Delta 9 nerve agent. And then, while they're sleeping peacefully, he's going to ride in, truck the gold out, everybody gets paid. It's a robbery, right?
Meanwhile, Bond is overhearing this because he's snuck to underneath this building, this room that they're explaining it in, and he's poking his head up through the model of Fort Knox that Goldfinger has
the
on
thing
the floor.
Everyone's
It's very cutesy, yeah.
It zooms in, he's got his eyes there. It's nice, it's fun. And he's writing
this
down
movie is
like,
so fucking whimsical.
Yeah, he writes down Fort Knox, Delta 9, and he puts like his tracking beacon with it, slips into his pocket, and then immediately gets discovered by Pussy Galore.
She literally pulls his feet out from under him. He's like, "Whoa, okay, you know judo," and she's like, "Yes, because I'm a lesbian." And it's a fascinating example of like the synonyms and the like euphemisms for lesbian in 1964. She says she's the outdoor type, which I'm gonna start calling myself.
Yeah, so she takes him to meet Goldfinger, and Goldfinger is just showing out one of the mafia guys who brought quote unquote machine parts over with him. And he's gone like, no, I'd actually like to just get my money now and leave, please. And Goldfinger's like, "Oh, okay, no worries. You come with me. Everyone else,
no worries.
stay in this
we'll take
room."
you to your murder appointment.
He literally is just
"What did you just say?" And regular appointment.
He's like, all of you wait. We're just gonna go take care of Mr. like whatever the fuck his name is, Johnny.
Yeah,
Calzone.
I'm just gonna go and kill this guy. Yeah,
fucking Johnny Calzone is just like, I don't want to be part of this, Mr. Goldfinger. I'd like just to get my money and leave now, please. And he's like, "All right, come on then. We're gonna take care of you." And on his way out, he meets Bond, who slips that little note and his tracking beacon into the car that Johnny Calzone's being taken away in. and he's being taken away.
Which is pointless because we then see Oddjob. Kill him, and the car gets crushed. So that never affects the plot at all.
The car gets crushed into a cube.
He takes him away. He shoots him twice. He puts the car into a crusher, crushes it, and then the car is put onto the back of a separate car and driven back to the ranch. And just for a second, just during the scene, for a little brief moment, Oddjob is white. Because I guess they just didn't have Harold Sakara there. And they just put a white guy in like a top hat. Yeah. I can link you the thing there. But and they do the same thing. I linked this earlier. They do the same thing with Postfeller in the first
feel
one.
like a white Oddjob.
I'm feeling like a white Oddjob right
so
now.
Good.
So Felix Leiter and his
Harold
other CIA
Sakara actually
buddy
practiced for 5 months to do that shot. Like he
to
practiced for so long to become white for that one shot.
Yeah, Harold Sakara actually personally shot a man as well. It was crazy.
Yeah. He crushed a guy in a car compactor.
Oh, yeah, they crushed
also,
this guy in a car
Goldfinger uses
compactor.
Delta 9 to gas all the mafia guys.
Yeah, and it
Goldfinger
just
gases
kills
them, which makes it pointless for him to have explained the plan.
So
Why not just kill them straight away? Whatever.
He brought all these guys in. Go on.
He has an answer because he talks to Bond, right? He explains the plan to Bond. He has Bond deduce it himself. And what Bond deduces is you're not going to take the gold because the gold weighs like fucking 12,000 tons. It'll take you weeks. What you're going to do is you're going to detonate a dirty bomb and irradiate the government's gold. And then they won't be able to use it and yours will be worth more.
It's quite a nice scene, actually, because Goldfinger is there just sort of egging him on to make the next
he's having a great
connection.
time. He's like, I'm so
proud of
fucking
his plan.
smart. Yeah.
And there's a point.
It's a cool
but
plan.
like he gives you an answer, Abby, which is like, Bond says, I enjoyed your briefing very much. And Goldfinger says, yes, so did I. Like, he was just doing it to have fun.
He was just enjoying himself. Yeah, what
He
a
got
guy.
to monologue. He got to fucking spin a pool table upside down and then, like, do a bunch of shit
Hey,
and, like,
Mr.
move a bunch
Goldfinger,
of
you're
dials.
gassing me over here. What's going on?
Hey, yo, I'm dead already. What's the deal with that?
Which also brings pretty strongly into question, why did they fucking put this guy in a car, take it, shoot him, crush it, and drive it back?
Kill him
When they
anyway.
Just gas the other guys. Like, it's like they're not getting rid of the body. You have 30 more bodies. What do you have?
And
30
it's a
fucking
massive
cars?
inconvenience because Goldfinger pays him in gold ingots.
And now they have to get the
which
gold
he
out
then
of the car. Yeah.
He has to fucking mechanically separate them out of this cube.
And it's like, sure,
Why?
man,
He's just doing
hell
it
yeah.
for the flex.
Goldfinger does like a lot of his plans simply for the vibes. And also, I want to pull a sentence
That's
up
true.
here that he asks Bond during this exchange, which made me as angry as the red wine and fish that Grant pulled in the last episode. He's drinking a mint julep. One's for Bond. He says, "The julep tart enough for you." Which, this is a fuck up on par with the red wine, right? Mint juleps have no citrus in. It simply would not be tart, right? It's like if I handed you a fucking orange juice and was like, oh, is that spicy enough for you? Like, it's a flavor profile that Bond just would not be experiencing in that fucking moment. And it's like, what are you saying, dog? Fuck you.
But we gotta take a jarring shift in tone.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
We've been putting it off, but
we've been putting it off.
my
We gotta
gun.
get to it.
Let's talk about the scene. Capital T, capital S.
Oh, well, here's your content warning for just flat out sexual assault, right?
Yeah.
But Bond takes Pussy Galore into a hayloft and they do judo throws on each other while she's like, I'm a lesbian and I'm not at all interested in having sex with you because I'm a lesbian.
she explicitly says no twice.
Yes.
Yeah. But Bond out judos her, pins her down, and well, I mean, it's heavily implied. What it's shown is like forced kissing. It's heavily implied that it's just a rape.
And when we say forced, like she is like resisting him with her legs, which he pries apart. Like
it's fucking harrowing, legitimately.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It is traumatic, but like, of course, After like a few seconds of this, she's suddenly into it, which is a real thing that happens, I guess.
I mean, I think that's generously reading into the scene and the performance. Like, the music, the soundtrack certainly implies that she's into it and it's romantic, but it is like a rape scene. And I think a cleverer film could have done something with this. And you know, if because now 2 women are dead as a result of Bond, and a third has been raped. And like at the end of the film, you could have done something with this. You could have had a moment where Bond like faces himself a little bit, but of course we don't have that.
No, of course not.
No, we don't have that. We have something
Bond
even worse, which we
Bond
will
doesn't
get
even
to.
really do that now in the movies where he like pretends to do that.
Yeah.
Ever since they invented the sidestep for that in GoldenEye, where you just tell him he's a bad guy and he shrugs it off, they've been like able to sort of square that circle, but they didn't have to do that at this point because you know, the audience watching this in 1964 doesn't see anything wrong with this, at least the male audience.
Yeah, certainly, because at that point, like, lesbians as they were a concept were not like accepted societally. They were seen as something that is strictly for the male gaze.
It's also not only a rape, it's a corrective rape, and it's a corrective rape that is shown to work because Pussy Galore stops being gay and also stops being evil. The two things that are like linked together.
There's a reveal later, which I suppose we can talk about now, just because it's prevalent to talk about. But she swaps sides, and it's meant,
she calls the CIA.
Felix Leiter asks Bond, "Why did Pussy Galore suddenly swap sides?" And Bond, I don't know if you have the drop. You can cut me if you do.
I don't.
But Bond says something like, "Oh, I must have appealed to her maternal instincts." Which was such a fucking disgusting line that even though it was like 10 minutes until the end of the movie, I still paused it and just walked around my house for like 4 or 5 minutes. Because it's not only, as you said, not only is it a rape, not only is it a corrective rape, but it is a functional corrective rape. It's shown within the movie to have worked. And that is the one thing that is unforgivable for this movie. For all the fucking Goldfinger's being quite fun, for all the fucking Oddjob being a fun character and fun to watch, this movie specifically says within the plot, within the fiction, that corrective rape works and is good and saves the day to do. And it is disgusting.
And how many young men watch this and like on an imitative basis, right? Like if you want a material harm here, then it's not just something that's reflecting and perpetuating a sort of grotesque attitude of its time. It's fully an endorsement of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's very sad. It's very sad.
And this is going to feel jarring for us to go back to talking about things that we laugh about, but we needed to have this section where we said just explicitly that this is horrendous and it is genuinely disgusting.
It's a cognitive dissonance ass movie, right? Because you just run straight into this, and then the rest of it is...
It's back to being camp. It's fun
again. Back to being camp. It's back to being larger than life. It's back to being outre. It's back to being Goldfinger just having a nice time being ridiculous and dressing like a podcaster. And then just dropped in the middle of it like a lead weight.
He dresses in an army uniform, so specifically the podcaster he's dressing as is you.
Yes.
Oh,
now,
maybe that's why I enjoy this movie so much. But
if you want to get really annoying about it, and I do, he's wearing the trousers and the shoulder stripes of a general, even though he's only got the insignia of a full colonel. Breaks my immersion. 0 out of 10. Shit tier movie.
Fuck this movie. Stop the recording.
Ridiculous.
Let's go. I'm done.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so they execute the plan.
The plan steps off.
You don't know that like Pussy Galore has turned good because of the rape. So like what you see is her sort of army of lipstick lesbians spraying Fort Knox with gas, and all of the troops there just falling down dead.
There are 41,000 troops stationed at Fort Knox, and oh my god, do they make sure to show us fucking all of them collapsing.
Just
such
shot after shot after
scene.
shot after shot.
And it's the same guys, because they didn't have that many troops, but they had enough to make it look like one crowded scene, so we just went...
It's very funny the way Goldfinger justifies that, by the way. It's like... because Bond is like, yeah, you're gonna gas tens of thousands of people to do this, and Goldfinger's like, drivers killed that many in like 2 years in America. Who cares?
Which is a line that they tried to cut because one of the principal sponsors of this movie was Chrysler. So they who tried to be like, could you take out the line about motorists killing 60,000 people in every 2 years, please? Someone on our Patreon, who I do not quite remember the name of right now, and I do apologize, mentioned that there is a website you can go to that talks about all of the different things that were cut from each Bond film. It's just a list of things, and I will talk about it in every Bond film. On the last one, there were a lot more, which is a shame we didn't get to that. But on this one, that's pretty much the only major one, is that the Chrysler company was like, could you not mention the road accidents, please? Could you just go back to the corrective rate?
Well, that and all the race science.
Come on, we don't want anything that's.
But I mean, that just wasn't adapted.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So, but Bond then gets moved in with the fucking task force that are dressed up as US soldiers, but like only half of them. The other half are just in henchman gear, I guess, for the vibes. And the plan is, right, they're going to handcuff Bond to this bomb. I don't know why.
Because
they're going to do that.
Guy, I guess. Which is like,
I guess, like, it's gonna kill him, right? Yeah. Fine, but why does he need to? Like, Goldfinger he comes up to Bond, who is handcuffed to an atomic bomb, and is like, Mr. Bond, for once you're exactly where I want you. Well, why? Why does he have to be in the?
Because Goldfinger loves it. Because he loves this shit. Like,
that's true.
Even in
Goldfinger
the laser
is the most
scene, he's
vibes-based henchman.
He's clearly just enjoying it in the laser scene. He's just like, because it gets me off. I just like it. It's just funny.
Yeah. He is a great fucking villain.
He is. This is something that this movie does really well, which is to have introduced the villains so early. It's just it's nice to have such a long time to get to know them, because Dr. No and From Russia with Love suffered from this. They had an interesting villain, but with very little screen time. And the things I complained about,
one conversation with them.
The things I complained about with Red Grant was that he was constantly doing menacing shit off screen, and it feels like they took that with Oddjob and they were like, okay, he's going to do it all on screen, and it works perfectly. It's really good. So they put him into Fort Knox's gold depository. They put him on the elevator.
Fantastic.
There's a very
Ken
long
Adams set, by the way. They had no idea what it looked like because they weren't allowed to film inside, so they just made this massive, like, gold cathedral-looking thing. It's great.
It's so good. There's like
yeah. It's not based on anything. Ken Adams just fucking made it up based on what he thought would look cool. Yeah,
and it does.
Damn, that rules.
But then at that moment, as it's being lowered and the nuke has been turned on, suddenly all the guys that were shown to have been knocked out, they wake back up again. They're not dead.
Why the fuck would you do that after they had armed the bomb and after they were in the bullion thing?
It's almost shown that that's what triggers them to stand up, because one of them has like a sensor of some description which starts beeping as soon as they turn the key on the bomb.
Geiger counter.
Which is weird because that isn't how that would work. But still, it's a movie anyway. So, and they all wake up and they start to assault Goldfinger's guys. And they say something like minimal force until we've secured the bomb. Cut the bit where I don't know what I'm talking about. Minimal force until we've secured the bomb. And like later on, there's just a shitload of explosions happening as well.
2 seconds later, gunfight.
Like gunfight. There's fucking
someone has a grenade as well at one point.
Where is this minimal?
Goldfinger gets to play a round of Team Fortress 2 as the spy here, because what he does is he pulls off his jacket to reveal a US Army colonel's uniform, and he like misdirects the Americans into like charging at the door. He locks Bond, Oddjob, and one of his henchmen in the vault, and then he just fucking sprays the Americans in the back with a submachine gun and leaves.
He also has a gold revolver. But then he just
him.
He just fucking
he just bails.
He just fucking bails. He's like, I'm out of here.
And inside the thing, like the henchman that's locked in there is going like, oh fuck, oh god, oh shit, we should stop the bomb. We're gonna get blown up. And he tries to, but Oddjob stops him and just throws him off the railing to his death because Oddjob
is willing to die for this plan.
Oddjob is just secure that he simply wouldn't die. Which is because
he is immune to radiation, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Bond is like handcuffed to this like giant like fucking trolley shaped nuclear bomb with a bunch of actually rather fetching 1950s French handcuffs. They're called a la Pégie, if you're curious. Anyway.
But the guy that Oddjob throws off the railing is the one who had the keys in his front pocket. So Bond's like, keys. And he starts to make his way towards it. Oddjob realizes what he's done. He runs down the staircase. And as he gets there, Bond has released himself. So we get a fight scene.
That's right. And this absolutely was an imminent health and safety threat to both dudes. Who Sean Connery got badly injured again by Harold Sakata doing this, because Harold Sakata, despite being a professional wrestler, I guess never learned not to hit people for real.
Harold Sakata is the one wrestler who thinks wrestling is real. He's just fucking going for it every day. It's so good. And Oddjob also, Harold Sakata also got quite badly burned during the filming of this.
He did. But he kept going. He didn't break character.
He didn't break character. He didn't let go of the hat until the director called cut, because he's a fucking legend.
Yeah, because he's a pro. There's this great bit where Sean Connery throws gold bullion.
Yeah, and it just
it's so good. Like Connery
Oddjob.
Just bounces up. He's like you, Dev. He's just like completely invincible.
There's just a reason I chose Oddjob to be the guy.
He's just having a great time.
Oddjob's just smiling. He's having a good time. Which led me to believe that the reason Oddjob was fine being in the room with the nuke is because he simply wouldn't die if it went off. Because he's just untouchable. There's a bit where Bond pins him against a concrete pillar and tries to break his arm by leaving it against the corner of this pillar, and Oddjob just looks at him very bemusedly for a moment before he just frees himself from it in one hit.
Yeah, and then punches him in the middle of the spine, which, as we have established, is a full force punch to Sean Connery.
Just properly punch Sean Connery. Sean Connery, a man who loves to punch but hates when he gets punched. Strange that. But the fight is phenomenal. Oddjob throws his hat a couple of times. He hits a cable that falls to the ground and starts sparking pretty badly. And then Bond picks up the hat, and this is the one time during this entire movie that we see Oddjob visibly worried, which means I guess the hat is the one weapon that can hurt him. It's like a fucking Achilles heel thing. His own weapon is the only thing that can harm him. Bond throws this hat and it gets trapped between two metal bars. Oddjob smiles, gives him a half bow, and then goes to try to get the hat. Bond uses that sparking cable to electrocute those bars, killing Oddjob and winning the fight in the most underhanded method possible.
Shocking.
R.I.P. R.I.P.
That's right.
Shocking.
Which is nice. Chat for Oddjob. The army come in, and there's this nice sequence where Bond has no idea how to turn the bomb off, which is quite funny.
He's pushing at stuff and he's about to yank the wires, and then at the last second a guy just dives in and hits a big off switch. Once again, there's this movie is willing to play stuff for laughs in a way that a lot of subsequent Bond movies would not be. And it's it's almost charming now. That's the thing about Goldfinger, right? Is that if you watch it, aside from having a lead weight dumped on you about 2/3 of the way in, if you can get over that and in the time immediately before that, you're probably gonna have a nice time. It's an entertaining film to watch, and it's actually quite seductive. You find yourself, or at least I found myself being kind of pulled back into it.
Up top we said this was a good movie. Is that overall it is quite entertaining. There is obviously one scene in particular that makes this movie just absolutely damaging to your psyche to watch. And we said if you can get over, and it's fine if you can't. I just want to be clear, it is a traumatic scene.
We are trained professionals. we trained for 5 months to watch this movie.
But the thing is, you could cut that scene, and you could just have the story be that the Pussy Galore just was going to betray Goldfinger anyway, and Bond was useless.
Would you like to know how he accomplishes this same thing in the book? He leaves the tracking device under an airplane toilet seat.
Oh, glamorous.
And it just works. Yeah. So, you know, could have just done that, I guess.
The thing about the bomb as well is that they originally intended to stop like the countdown on the bomb at like 3 seconds, but instead they thought it might be fun to stop it at 007, which is of course Bond's number. But they didn't change any of the dialogue, so Bond still says, "Well, 3 more ticks and we would have been blown sky high later on."
Yeah, Bond is innumerate. He never learned to count.
I don't know what his measurement of tick is. And then we get the bit where Felix Leiter's like, "Hey, why did Pussy change sides?" And Bond's like, "Well, my dick was so good that I stopped her being a lesbian." And everyone's like, "Ha ha ha, great."
Yep.
And then he gets to meet the president.
Great work, James. He gets to meet President Johnson. He gets to like have lunch with him.
But
unfortunately, fucking Goldfinger is there. He and Pussy Galore are both there. Goldfinger springs out still in his Colonel outfit, while Bond is like on this, I guess, like small executive jet to go and meet the president. They fight. Goldfinger, again, calling back to some foreshadowing that happened earlier, shoots out the window and gets sucked out of the window of that plane.
He makes an incredible face as he gets sucked out. It's brilliant.
I'm gonna try and make that the episode art if I can get that frame.
Yeah, do. I've got it.
Oh, perfect.
This also crashes the plane.
Getting shoved off by a plane. Got that.
So this is the death of Goldfinger, right?
Bury me with my golden ore.
Bury me with
very
my golden
good. We need to keep the TF jokes limited, but that was very good.
Bury me with my golden finger. Yeah, he just flies out and like Bond checks up on Pussy and she's like, "Where's Goldfinger?" And Bond says,
playing his golden arm.
He's playing his golden harp, which
golden arm.
He's playing his golden arm.
Admittedly, quite a good line.
Yeah, it's a fine line.
Is it though? Anyway,
yeah.
They parachute out of the plane and then fuck.
Yeah, and then they have sex. Whatever, get that shit out of my face.
Fine. Did not appreciate the kind of like Die Hard style false ending here.
Yeah.
Could have just fucking kept Goldfinger alive. Have him come back. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, he's cool.
They originally wanted Orson Welles for Goldfinger, but they thought he would take too much money. And I'm almost glad that they didn't get him because Orson Welles would have stolen this movie from
100%.
Sean Connery.
Yeah.
It would be the Goldfinger franchise, and we would just be doing a podcast about why the 24 movie Goldfinger franchise is so good.
Welcome to Alternate Universe Kill James Bond, where we're doing about Goldfinger.
Yeah.
Well, that's the movie.
So, that's the movie. Should we talk about our patented scum system,
that is
which
right.
we use to empirically determine which James Bond movies are the worst?
Yeah, the current winner of this is OK Connery.
You'll have to listen to the bonus episode. It's the only good James Bond film.
That's right.
So Smarm. I'm thinking this is a full 7 out of 7 because of especially the line with the toaster in the back is like shocking.
I have a drop that will relate to both the S and the M here. These are a few of my favorite things.
Dink, meet Felix Leiter.
Hello.
Felix, say hello to Dink.
Hi, Dink.
Dink, say goodbye to Felix. Man talk.
And then fully gives her a slap on the ass.
Yeah, slaps
so this is 7 out of 7 for Smarm.
7 out of 7. Just such a smarmy bastard the entire way through.
Cultural insensitivity.
Cultural insensitivity. We have yet again just another guy whose bad guy is somehow an entire array of Asian guys.
It's just knows Asians and can hire them to work for him.
But I mean, nobody's in Yellowface.
That is true. As opposed to the book, there's no explicit, there's nothing derogatory about the fact that people are Asian.
Races, but
there's no. There's no racial slurs. Is there?
No.
Like there wasn't from Russia with Love?
Not to my knowledge. No. Oddjob is exoticized and stuff, but he's also genuinely threatening. He's not like played for laughs exactly.
There is still the fact that the only woman that Bond didn't ever harass in any way was the sole Asian woman that he was on screen with.
Yeah,
which
that's true.
So
it's not going to be
a
0, but should we say like a 2 maybe?
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I'm willing to do
now, unprovoked violence, I think this is relatively...
It's
well,
more...
depends on whether we're folding that into the misogyny or not.
We'll touch the misogyny separately. I think it's more because he does more unprovoked violence, frankly, than the other two. The other two, he basically does nothing, but in this one, he does at least. I can't think of the instance. Oh.
Well, he does electrocute a guy, although that guy was like clumsily going for a gun.
Yeah, I mean he fights back against people.
I don't think he actively murders anyone.
No.
But like he does manage to like both like hold a woman hostage after breaking into her hotel room and also rape another woman, which is not nothing. So
yeah,
if we count sexual violence, then this is a 7. But if we're just talking about like directly physical violence, then it's even lower. So I'm willing to put it at like a halfway. If we call it like a out of 7,
like a 6.
6, yeah, that's halfway between.
Now misogyny 8.
8, yeah, I straight up wrote down 8. Yeah, out of 7, it's a fucking 8. Like this is horrendous.
Yeah,
from top to bottom, start to finish, just one of the most badly treated women casts I've ever seen. It's horrendous.
Very cruel.
And that gives us a total score of 23, which makes it the worst so far.
Huh. And yet, it like had relatively the best time watching it. I was less bored watching it than I was with any of the others that we've seen.
I think that's partly because it was quite a short movie compared to...
It is. It's the shortest until Skyfall. Ones. It's like an hour and a half, and it doesn't like overstay that too much. Whereas every other Bond movie is like 2 hours.
Yeah, the next one that we're going to talk about, which Kill James Bond will return in Thunderball, is like 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I'm earnestly dreading it. But other than that, I think that's. If anyone else has any closing thoughts on this, I think that's a cast bodied.
Only that I think it was extremely funny when the guy said.
Consequently, we are vitally concerned with unauthorized leakages.
That's really my only contribution.
Yeah, that is good. I think it's funny that Oddjob is not particularly tall, but he's filmed like he's a massive guy. I think that's fun.
Oh yeah, they filmed to be like wide, which is great.
Yeah,
appreciate that.
Well, Harold Zakata spent 5 months getting very wide.
He spent 5 months learning how to smile.
Spent 5 months practicing his aspect ratios.
Oh, Harold Zakata, DM, get on the pod any day. You're welcome.
Absolutely wins. What I am going to start instituting and calling the Kronstein Rosette for like underappreciated henchmen and villainy.
Absolutely.
The Kronstein Grand Prix of this movie goes to Harold Zakata as Oddjob.
Anyway, let's cut to our sponsor. Well, Hench, right. Do you have a secret base that you need to populate with bad guys all of a sudden, but you don't want to pay a living wage or cover health insurance? Try hiring an entire cast of Asian people. Hench. Available now on the App Store. You can
like coordinate their jumpsuits.
Just in the app as well.
We'll see in 2 weeks for Thunderball. And here's Devon with some soft jazz and the end matter after our theme song.
Hi, Devon here again. I had such a great time chatting with you last time, I thought we could make this a regular date, you and I. Kill James Bond will return in Thunderball in 2 weeks' time, but if that is simply too long to wait, we have a Patreon where we upload bonus episodes on those interstitial weeks. That's patreon.com/killjamesbond, all one word. Speaking of our beautiful patrons, I'd like to give special thanks to our £15 and above patrons, and that's Jack Holmes, Timothy Pajorni, Jack Bushell, Larrykins, Josh Simmons, Alfredo, and Danny. This has been Kill James Bond. Our producer is Nate Bethay, and our podcast art is by Matt Lipchansky. See you soon.